Hello, welcome back to another episode of D54. I'm Amit, joined by Kathy. Welcome, Kathy.
Hello.
So
We've traveled in time through a lucid dream, and now I'm on his channel instead of him on my channel.
You're in the dream
world.
D54 channel. This is not.
That's right.
This is not real.
World. Exactly. Is it real? I don't know. Am I dreaming? What's happening?
So if it wasn't obvious already, guys, we're talking about the movie Pendulum, which we just did a non-spoiler review for on Kathy's channel. So part 1, if you want to put it like that, check that out because it's a nice intro to what we're going to talk about here in this, which is going to be more, I guess, about the story. But check it out. Subscribe to the channel. There's we had a great time actually talking about this movie and sort of some of the performances. Vijay Babu and a lot of other sort of actors and actresses basically doing their thing. But I think for the spoiler review, I think look, this is a movie that I don't know how they sort of conceived of this story, because one, it's so, I feel like it's so complicated and so dense that it did take me a little while to sort of get behind it, to be honest. And I wonder, like, do you think this is based on I feel like this is the kind of thing that might have been played out better in a book. Like if you're reading like chapter by chapter or something like that, you could maybe understand it a little bit better,
and maybe more internal dialogue. Like, we only knew what he was telling us. So if you're in a book, a lot of times you can write what a character's thinking instead of maybe. I mean, he mentioned what was the book they mentioned in the trailer? Murakami.
Yeah, I think it was in the book specifically. They just mentioned, like, I think she says, is this a Murakami novel, which is all about, changing the timescape, like the, fantasy, mixing fantasy, magical with realism. That's what his, that's what his whole thing is. So that's pretty cool. But
so they would do a balancing act of realism, fantasy.
Yeah, which is what this kind of is, I guess, because it plays on that sort of.
It does.
Like, I forgot what the word is. There's a specific term for this, like this magical realism, maybe, or something like that. Like it's when you combine these two elements. And I guess the story, it is a little bit difficult to understand, and I didn't really understand the snail references. Like, why was it snails particularly? But I guess it was a symbol of him being around. Was that the thing?
I wasn't sure if the snails meant you were in someone's specific dream. Like I was trying to, because when they started doing the snail references, I didn't realize what the movie's about yet. So I didn't realize that there was lucid dreaming, which is sort of the time travel aspect of this. Well, time travel, reality, virtual reality. Well, it's a little bit of everything. They talk about lucid dreaming, but I thought maybe that was the signifier of one person's kind of dream, because it was hard to tell who was dreaming, and that was part of his problem. He didn't know which dream he was in.
No, he didn't know which dream he was in.
So I think maybe that was one of the clues on whose dream it was. Though now I have to kind of think back on who's it connected to, because there were a lot of people dreaming in this movie.
Yeah,
a lot of dreams to keep track of. But I love that aspect of it, because you're lost, he's lost. But at the same time, it's so compelling visually that you just keep watching. Yeah.
Really
gorgeous.
And I guess the main storyline in this is he's trying to save the son, I guess. He's trying to save Amir, but then Amir turns out to be, actually, I kind of did like that twist. How they sort of, we didn't know who that guy was, and he was, I wouldn't say he was evil, but and he also played the role really well. He was kind of like mischievous in a way or something like that. Or like he wasn't really, I couldn't really get a real grasp of what his whole story was, but I was pleasantly surprised to think that he's, lost somewhere. We don't know where he is, but he's right in front of us the whole time.
Yeah, you just had to be in the right dream.
Yeah, you had to just find the right dream to find him.
Right, and you have to rescue the person in their dream.
Yeah.
How it was. Like, if you don't, the thing is, if your time runs out, I forget what the kind of final, or one of the caveats in the movie was, if you find the person and they die in the dream, you're then stuck in their dream.
That's what Indrans keeps hinting at, right? Like if you don't save him, you'll be stuck in this forever. And that's what happened to Angel too, right? Like she'll be stuck in the maze forever.
Yeah.
Which is what she was stuck with as well. So
which I'm assuming, like we're taking our guess and from what people are telling us in the dream we're in. So if you have other ideas, let us know. But that was sort of like our take, is that it's kind of like when they say if you die in your dreams, you'll die in real life. It's like one of those little weird urban legend things. So I think that was sort of, And they weren't. It wasn't a super effects heavy movie either. Like the house thing, I thought was stunning, and it was only for a brief second.
No,
and I wish they'd had a little bit more of that. Like that was its most Inception moment.
Exactly, I was gonna say that was the most sort of very Inception like. Very if you've seen Doctor Strange, they go,
of course,
they do that on like ecstasy or something like that. That is something else. But if they had done more, I would have liked to sort of see more of that, because we would have experienced more of that sort of that trippy feeling that you were just moving around and you can't tell where you are. It'd be visually more effective, I think. But
because dreams are not linear or realistic, and there's always something wrong in your dream. Like you think about it, you're like, well, I was here and then I went to, and I don't know how I got there. Like you're always trying to figure out how you got there. I wish they'd had a little bit of that, more of that kind of the reality not quite being right. Like when he was in a dream, it felt pretty realistic. He's just in another reality, and for the most part, unless he had a snail on his hand, which he was like, I'm like, dude, what's your problem, man? It's just a snail. God, get over it. But it's like, besides that, you didn't really feel like it was dream world, and that was also part of it too, which I liked, but also a little more confusing, is you couldn't tell when he was dreaming and when he wasn't.
Yeah,
so that was a little bit.
Yeah. Now we did talk about more sort of the visual style and stuff like that in part 1, guys. So make sure, again, more plug, check that out. To sort of talk about that a bit more. But what about the ending? What did you sort of make of that? I was honestly a bit confused as to he's dead now. Is Vijay Babu now stuck in a dream where he's dead? Because the snail comes out there as well, right at the end.
Yeah.
So is it?
And he's seen a funeral. I remember asking like, whose funeral is this?
Yeah.
And you're like, is it your funeral? Because it sure seems like
I know.
I mean, and then he just kind of was like, okay. Like he was kind of resigning himself, almost like, this is where I am now. Like he didn't even seem that worried about it.
No.
So I couldn't decide, is it because he realized he was able to escape, and that this is where it comes up to interpretation, right? Was he able to get out of the dream? And by the guy dying outside the dream, the maze is broken now? Or is he now stuck in the dream forever? I'm not sure which it is.
No, exactly. I think it is open to interpretation, as you mentioned, because they don't go into what happens if somebody who's lucid dreaming pulls you into a dream, or whatever you want to say it. If you're in their dream and that person dies, what happens to the person that's in the dream then? They don't really expand on that. At least I didn't pick up any hints from it. But again, honestly, this is the kind of movie that I would probably look for like a write-up and a narrative like description as to know what happened, or watch it again a second time. And
I was going to say that now that I've seen it and we kind of know the vibe, I'd like to watch it again, looking for the clues that are probably there that I didn't notice at first because I didn't know what I was looking for. I think
exactly right.
It's one of those double watch movies. The whole movie will be different after you see the ending.
Yeah, because the first viewing, you yourself were sort of just trying to figure out, how does this world work and what are the rules, that govern this sort of dream worlds, I guess.
Right.
But once you understand that, I think you can actually just focus on being like, okay, where is Vijay Babu now? He's here in this person's dream. Where's he moving to next? So I think this is a movie, honestly, has good repeat value. So I think if you are really intrigued by this and you want to understand it properly, then a second viewing, even a second viewing from the second half, is probably what you sort of need, because you understand the context. Then you don't need to see his journey to the dream world. You can just go from the second half.
Mitt, are you saying to only watch the last half of the movie on the second viewing?
No. Definitely not. I'm not promoting that.
I didn't say that at all.
What's the whole thing twice? What's the whole thing 3 times? What's his?
You know what? You can watch it 4 or 5 times if you subscribe to Sainaplay.
Yes.
The Sainaplay. And I was looking at it too, the Sainaplay thing. It's all Malayalam films. It's only $21.99 a year. That's like $2 a month for Malayalam films at your fingertips. You could watch this movie 10 times if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Which you probably should, because that's how long it's going to take you to figure it out.
Correct. Yeah.
That's a good deal. I mean,
that's a great deal.
I think I might subscribe to this, because there's a lot of Malayalam films I want to watch, and I feel like I kind of see not as good as quality as probably is on this site. Because they're getting
the quality and production is really good in terms of the print and all that stuff as well. So you're not going to get any issues with that. Yeah, they have a lot of stuff that you probably wouldn't find in the mainstream. Like I think even Pendulum is a movie you probably wouldn't find in the mainstream so much like that. It still has a sort of an independent kind of feel to it, which I think is good, because it lets them be more creative with this kind of stuff. I feel like they're less bound by sort of being really being a really commercial movie, for instance, even though I think it has good commercial appeal. I think it's a movie that definitely, it's more, it allows itself to be really creative in what it's doing,
Yeah.
which I always going to appreciate. Like,
always applaud someone trying to do something different. I mean, this was a big deal. Like, there's not a ton of fantasy or sci-fi Indian films. I have not seen many of them. Please point them out if you have them. Please put in the comments because I want to know the good ones. This movie came out. It was a little confusing, hard to follow. That's not necessarily the movie that could be me. So I was like, but I love seeing people trying to break some boundaries and do something different. So bring it on. It's like, and this movie looked gorgeous, and the story was ambitious, especially for a first time director. It's like, so
first time director, and I guess I don't know if it's the first time he wrote a movie, but he was a writer and director, so he had sort of two hats playing there as well. Right. So yeah, it was yeah, I would probably recommend it, guys, if you are interested in watching something that's a little bit different than sort of what we normally see from the industry. Check it out. I've not seen a
really unique
movie from the Malayalam industry. Never. So it's a great experience.
I don't think I've seen a lucid dreaming American film, honestly.
There's very few. We did mention
I can't even think of it.
Only two of Inception kind of dream world.
Sort of a dream, but then we find it's not really a dream.
At the end, right. And the other one was
Machine or
Lucia,
something.
which we also
oh yeah, right. That's right. But that one was easier. There was only two. It was him awake, him asleep. That's basically it. So a lot easier to follow.
This one really goes hard on the dreaming aspect of it. Like the actual fantasy aspect, it pushes harder on that, I think. Whereas, especially in Lucia, it's part of the movie, but it's not, you're really following the journey of the character, and that's sort of also ties into it.
That's right.
But yeah, this has been an awesome conversation. Thanks so much, Kathy, for jumping on this one. And it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, if you guys have seen Pendulum, if you know more about the movie and sort of, some of the background, some of the, how they sort of made this movie, and what your thoughts while watching it, some of your theories, let us know in the comments because we'd love to know.
I know I'm gonna go sleep, and maybe I can dream about Pendulum. That would be maybe my dreams would figure it out. Wouldn't that be cool to dream about a dream movie? That'd be so cool.
That'd be crazy. That would be crazy. But cool. Thanks again, Kathy, so much for jumping on, and everyone, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye,
everyone. Bye.